Welcome back to Thrive at the Top, the podcast for leaders, safety professionals, and decision makers navigating high-pressure industries and are done with surface-level solutions. Here, we talk about the realities of human performance, psychological safety, resilience, and what it actually takes to sustain people and performance in complex operational environments. My name is 𝒑𝒊𝒔𝒚, the founder of Complete Wellbeing Global and the creator of the 𝒑𝒂𝒊𝒍𝒃𝒆 framework. We help organizations strengthen human performance, operational resilience, and disclosure readiness in high-pressure environments. And welcome to our new series, Inside the Infrastructure. And today, I'm going into our first episode, Why Wellbeing Programs Fail. Over the last decade, organizations have invested heavily in well-being. Mental health awareness campaigns, employee assistance programs, resilience workshops, wellness platforms, mental health first aiders, well-being days, mental health apps. And while many of these initiatives have value, something doesn't quite add up. The global workplace wellness industry is now worth tens of billions of dollars. Yet, burnout remains high. Stress remains high. Disengagement remains high. The World Health Organization estimates that depression and anxiety cost the global economy around $1 trillion every year in lost productivity. Gallup continues to report high levels of workplace stress across the world. So if organizations are investing more than ever before, why do so many people still feel exhausted, overwhelmed, and disconnected? After working across healthcare, aviation, and other high-pressure industries, I've come to one simple conclusion. Most well-being programs are not failing because they are bad programs. They are failing because they are being introduced into systems that were never designed to support human performance in the first place. One of the things I've noticed during my years as a clinician was that support often arrived after someone was already struggling. The focus was on intervention, not prevention. Someone reached a crisis point, then support was mobilized. Someone became unwell, then resources appeared. And that's why I decided to move upstream. But now I see similar pattern in many organizations. Someone burns out, then support is offered. Someone disengages, then initiatives are launched. Someone resigns, then an exit interview is conducted. We are responding to symptoms. We're really examining the conditions that created them. Most organizations still treat well-being as something separate from the business altogether. It's often positioned as an initiative, a separate program, a campaign, a workshop, an app, something that sits alongside operations. But people do not experience work that way. People experience the entire system. They experience the workload. They experience the leadership. They experience the communication of the system. They experience the pathways that the system has. The support available, the culture, the trust, the operational pressures, the expectations, the environment, the whole of it. All of these things influence performance long before somebody attends a well-being workshop. One of the observations I've made recently across aviation is the industry's focus on growth. More aircraft, more routes, more passengers, more training capacity, more recruitment. And that makes sense. The demand is there and the opportunity is there. But growth creates pressure. And pressure has a way of exposing weaknesses that were already existing. For example, at an airport level, that pressure often shows up through longer security queues. It shows up in baggage handling delays. It shows up in increased complaints, operational bottlenecks, capacity constraints, and rising operational costs. Passengers see this outcome, and leaders experience the consequences. What interests me is what sits underneath it. Because operational pressure doesn't only affect systems, it affects people. The operations supervisor managing competing priorities, the baggage teams trying to recover from disruptions, the security teams managing increased demand, and the customer service staff handling frustrated passengers. I've been there. The leaders making decisions in complex and fast-moving environments. Every operational challenge eventually becomes a human performance challenge. I see similar patterns elsewhere across aviation. Airlines are investing heavily in recruitment to support expansion. Training academies are increasing intake to meet future demand. The conversation is often about bringing more people into the system. What I hear less often is discussion about what happens after they arrive. Many organizations continue to face retention challenges. Pilots leave for competing airlines. Instructors leave training academies. Experienced people move elsewhere. Recruitment tells us how quickly an organization can attract talent. However, retention tells us something very different. Retention tells us about the experience people are having inside the system. If an organization is constantly recruiting to replace the people it keeps losing, that's not simply a workforce matter. It's a signal worth paying attention to. This is where I believe many organizations get stuck. They continue adding solutions, more training, more workshops, more resources, more programs. But programs cannot compensate for broken systems. An EAP cannot fix poor leadership. A resilience workshop cannot fix chronic operational pressure. And a well-being app cannot create psychological safety. A poster on the wall cannot create trust. People know the difference. They know when support is genuine. They know when the support is being asked to solve problems it was never designed to solve. The organizations that are making real progress approach this differently. They stop treating well-being as a separate activity and start treating human performance as an infrastructure, something that is designed, measured, maintained, governed, continuously improved, just like safety, quality, just like operational excellence. Support becomes part of the whole operating system, not something that appears when people start struggling, and not something that gets rolled out once a year, and not something that sits in a separate department. It becomes embedded into how the organization functions. This shift in thinking is one of the reasons why we created the 𝒂𝒊𝒂𝒂𝒂𝒂 framework. And later, we also developed the Human Performance Operating System. Because what we kept seeing wasn't a lack of well-being activity, it was the lack of infrastructure. No visibility, no governance, no measurement. There were no clear pathways and a way of identifying risks before they became incidents. There was no way of understanding what people are actually experiencing inside the system. Across aviation and all high-pressure industries, I keep hearing the same conversation. Growth, capacity, recruitment, productivity, efficiency. All are important conversations, but what I hear less often is a discussion about the infrastructure required to sustain this growth. Pressure exposes weaknesses, I've already said that. And those weaknesses are rarely found in one strategy. They're usually found in the systems, in processes, and environments that people rely on every day to perform. And that's why we've stopped talking about well-being and started talking about infrastructure, because well-being was never really the destination, and infrastructure is what makes all things possible. In the next episode, we'll explore the missing layer between leadership and trust, and why trust is rarely built through communication alone. If you are responsible for safety, operations, training, workforce performance, or organizational culture, and you're navigating growth, workforce shortages, or increasing operational complexity, we invite you to schedule a human performance infrastructure briefing. We'll help you identify the hidden risks that traditional well-being programs often miss and show you how organizations are building the systems required to sustain performance at scale. Thanks for joining me on the Thrive at the Top, and I look forward to seeing you in the next episode.